Perfect. Cool. So good morning. Welcome again to our new episode. Uh,
Yeah.
Today we're gonna talk about something that is super common
Mm.
and that the technology has been around for probably 6 years, but
Yeah.
the last 3 years have made a big difference in the technology and how it's used, right?
Right.
But but I think this topic is one of those things that everyone or almost everyone who works has been part of one of these things at least once in their life. Right?
Yeah.
So, so we're gonna talk about meetings.
Mm.
Meetings is something almost everyone tends to hate,
Yeah.
uh, consider sometimes a waste of time,
Yeah.
but we need it, right? I guess it's part of being social creatures. We need to have meetings to discuss things and move things forward.
Yeah.
And then I guess what really made a difference is COVID,
Yeah.
how a lot of these things started happening online,
Yeah.
and that opened the door to technology
Yeah.
being more used in for meetings, right?
Right.
Uh, Before we were already using some technology, but really digital meetings changed everything when it
Yeah.
comes to technology. But I think before we jump into that, why don't we talk a little bit about
Yeah.
construction meetings?
And we should do a small intro, just like
Yeah.
to start off.
So
Yeah.
you spent a lot of years in the construction industry,
Yeah.
so you probably were part of a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
So what is it about construction and meetings? What makes them unique? Just from your experience, tell me a little bit more about those.
Yeah. That's a tough question too. So construction meetings are very different from, let's say, marketing meeting or your even developer scrum meetings and those things, because the meetings are a way of solidifying how you are building that project, which is, let me rephrase that. Construction have different kind of conflicts. Construction, the process of construction is basically when a lot of people come together to build out these massive giant projects, buildings, highways, bridges. And when you start off any of these projects, you have some kind of a specification, technical documents on how you're going to build those, right? And unlike any other field, the state, the conditions that you are building the project in, they are changing at super fast level, right? So if you're writing code, your code is like you are building that in your computer. The process where you're building, the area you are writing, it's defined. The languages you're writing code in, it's defined, right? Nothing is going to change much. If you are doing marketing, I mean, the processes, everything is defined. The people you are targeting, it's very much defined. But when you are building construction, you're doing some kind of construction, the state is changing super rapidly, right? The laws are changing, the people who are building, it's they are coming in, they are going out, the materials are changing, like the prices of the materials are changing, even the environmental condition, like if you, sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's snowing, so these are like changing how very differently, right? And even like when you're building things, if, let's say, everything remains support, like there's a inherent variability in construction, right? There are safety issues, right? Safety concerns, something went broke, went south. um, you are digging grounds and you thought the grounds is going to be different, but it's now very different than you what you initially thought and perceived. So there's like lots and lots of variability that you have to overcome very dynamically. And the only way you can overcome those variability is by talking to people, is sharing that thing between different departments. The operations need to talk to design, design needs to talk to owner, owner needs to sanction a budget, and all these things can only happen when humans come together, sit in a room and discuss like what's going to happen. And that's what make construction meetings so much different, because they are not just a way of coming to consensus how you are going to do certain things, but it's much more. It's like you are building the process of how to build things dynamically while you are discussing those things, right?
Hmm. So it sounds like construction is one of the few industries where having meetings is actually a need
Yeah,
than in other industries where, yeah, if we could do things on paper, right? We
yeah,
could just have a document where everyone provides comment and we're good. But
yeah,
construction, no, because there's so much at risk, let's say,
yeah,
that the best way to do it is just sit down with everyone involved, talk things through, and come to a conclusion, and then
yeah.
go and execute.
Yeah, and that's the high level function of the meetings. But uh, the second part of it's the liability. So how do you contend that risk, right? And who is responsible for those liabilities? The meetings are super important in that way. So you need to record and document every decision you made, because if those decisions were not pre-made in the specifications and documents, and you're making those decisions when you're discussing with people, it's super important that you document those things and put liabilities on whoever is liable for those decisions. Otherwise, the state is going to come after you, the municipality is going to come after you, the owner is going to come after you, general contractor will come after the subcontractor. So there's like a lot of finger pointing that happens, right? And the good way to like decide who made what decision and who is taking what part of the risk and who is liable for any of the things is by meetings and making sure like you have perfect documentation of those things.
Yeah, yeah, because we're all friends until we're not, right? So I think in construction that tends to be the case. Like we might feel that, okay, yes, we're aligned on this project, but then something happens and someone is gonna gonna try something different, and the more we can document, the better.
Yeah,
Cool. So then that's why meeting minutes are super important, and from what I've seen, tends to be a document that's required by contract.
yeah,
Sometimes
yeah,
very specific what has to go into them, sometimes more broad, but in the end is that documentation of every meeting that has to happen.
yeah,
And I think with that, because I've been in other industries, and meeting minutes is a nice to have, but it's never a requirement, right? Like
right.
ideally you would have someone documenting the things. Sometimes it's people on their notebooks writing what they have to do, but that's pretty much what we do on other industries. But in construction has to be more formal than that, right?
Yeah, and I think the right way to think about construction meetings is they are legal documents. So the marketing teams, they are deciding, few people are there. Obviously, it's human talking, so there's going to be conflict, and the meetings are a good way of figuring out who said what and what we are doing further, and like having the broader team um, inform like what are we doing, so you can distribute minutes of the meeting to the broader team, and you have that like everybody's on the same page ideally. But in construction, the minutes of the meetings are legal document. um, it's not like everybody's going to get sued at some point in a big project. Like that's not a far-fetched idea, right? And then how do you safeguard yourself is like these legal documents. So once you create those meetings and you documented minutes of the meeting, you distributed and you said, okay, now these minutes of the meetings are in my vault. I have put the key, they are safe, and whenever we'll have dispute, we'll pull this out and then we'll see who is right. So yeah.
Perfect. So from what I've seen, there's also kind of like a best practice when doing this meeting minutes, right?
Mhm.
And usually it tends to be kind of like every after, let's say, last week we had a meeting where we documented the thing. Now for this meeting, we're kind of moving what we discussed in the previous meeting forward, right? So we kind of copy paste that thing,
Yeah,
update, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. So we keep just pushing the information down until
yeah,
we're done. So it's those documents become really interesting because they're tracking the whole history of the project
yeah,
in in one document, right? So
yeah,
there's a lot of data in them. At some point, that might become too much, but that's kind of the idea is how you track everything from day zero till end
yeah.
of the project.
Yeah, and there are like some good practices, and I've worked with different project managers. They have like um, different ideas of what a good minutes of the meeting should be, and it could depend person to person their own project management style. But like, um, there are few basic principles that is like everywhere. Who is present in the meeting, you should document that properly. All the people who is absent, who was supposed to be present, um, and what decisions you made without going through like he said that and he said that and who said that. Like, what was the final outcome of every point that we discussed, and then how do you keep it as a running log. So if you have to look at like what happened 3 weeks ago and what was how this decision making is progressing, you don't need to go and look for like 3 different minutes of the meeting from the past 3 weeks. So how do you keep the continuation of the decision making, and how do you close item? Some items might be open, but how do you close those items, and what are the decision factor? Then say, okay, we are dropping this item off our minutes of the meeting for the next meeting. So these are the some of the things that I've seen like mostly locate through like the construction and even mining industry.
So let's now talk a little bit about the problems or the pain points when both meeting minutes and meetings, right? So
Hmm.
and let's start with meeting minutes, and then we'll go to the bigger meeting. But I think that the main problem or the main pain with meeting minutes is no one really wants to write them. There's always that project coordinator, maybe project engineer who's assigned to write them, but no one really wants to be the the
Right.
person having to write those things.
Yeah. And I agree, like some people enjoy writing minutes of the meeting, like taking their own. So let me rephrase. Some people enjoy taking their own notes, but they writing minutes of the meeting in construction is very different than taking notes. It's a big process, right? It's a long process. It entails you taking notes, what happening, then you formalizing those notes, you distributing those notes to different parties that are involved in the minute that meeting. You getting consensus on like what was discussed, right? Because everybody, even though you have some minutes of the meeting and everybody was in the minutes of the meeting, people might have different consensus on what was discussed. And then you being like okay, coordinating with people on like, hey, this is going to be the final version of this minutes, and then you locking that down and saying like this is the final meeting and these are the unresolved items that we'll discuss in the meeting. So it's like a once you start the meeting, and then once until the next meeting, the process never stops, right? And like it's like few 5-10 hours in one meeting if you do it very diligently. So it's a cumbersome process.
Yeah, time consuming, and also I think when you're in a meeting writing these notes, you get distracted, right? Because you're trying to listen to what people are saying while at the same time writing. They might move to the next topic, but you're still writing the previous one. You need
Yeah,
to be writing without biases, without subjectivity, right? It has to be very objective, but that's hard because you have your own things happening, right?
yeah,
You roll your whatever things. So even if you don't want, you might get lost into certain or more detail into certain topics because you know more about those. Others you might lose a little bit. So the process of writing them, not just after, right, the amount of time it takes, but during the meeting, it's also a little bit complicated, and that ends up affecting the end output, right?
Yeah,
Comes with bias, comes with distractions, comes with different things that
yeah,
it's not easy to solve for because we're all humans and we're not training people on how to write meeting minutes, right?
yeah,
So there's always that thing. So I
yeah.
think that's
It
another.
requires like very undivided attention into what people are saying, and then capturing everybody's opinion is almost impossible, right? Everybody's going to have different opinion, different perspective on what they're saying. So how do you create unbiased opinion? So
Yeah,
that's why like taking notes is easy. Like you can write some things that you like or you want to talk, but you don't be responsible for like minutes of the meeting for everybody in that meeting, right? That's just not good idea.
yeah. And then if we move out of the meeting minutes to the meeting, I think some of the problems there are, one, this person taking notes might ask for repetitions to be able to write things, right? So
Mm,
that slows down the meeting a little bit because
mm,
we need to take that person into consideration. Um, the other, I think, is even though we're capturing meeting minutes, we're not really capturing. And at the end of the meeting, the only reflection of that meeting is going to be that meeting minute, which
right,
we all know is going to come out in the way someone wants it to come out.
right, right.
It's very controlled, the final output, because like you
Yeah,
said, these are legal documents. So
yeah,
we need to make sure that everything is protected,
yeah,
right? So at the end, those documents will lose a lot of details
yeah,
because of its nature, right? So even though we're already spending a lot of time in meetings, we have a lot of people sitting there, so they're expensive.
yeah.
We lose a lot of information because we are not capturing it
Yeah.
100%,
And
right?
I think there's two perspective to see those things. So one is like your minutes of the meetings is as a legal document, so it should have only the things that uh, contain risk, right? You don't want to put fluff into it or like technical information into it if it's not really relevant, or like some knowledge into it, because like you should almost treat your minutes of the document as a kind of like I said, legal document, right? So your way of safeguarding things, and you're gonna distribute to people, and you're gonna do those things. So it should be very short. It should be very clear, crisp, very very crisp. Um, uh, but the side effect of that is like you when we are in the meeting, we are not just discussing. Um, what is we are discussing a lot of knowledge, we are coming with consensus about a lot of different things, we are formulating new ideas on how to do things. All of that information get lost.
Yeah,
So so yeah, you rightly pointed out like there's a lot of information is getting lost, because we want to maintain the legality of the document, right?
yeah, and if like thinking of an example, right, is in the meeting minutes we can just say between we discussed option A, option B, we decided to go with option B, right?
Right.
That's it. But in the meeting there was a long discussion about why one, why the other, and that context is never fully captured in the final
Yeah,
document. So
yeah,
if at some point we have to we encounter a situation with a very similar context, we don't have it documented anywhere, right? So we only know that we decided this, so we now have to go back and ask maybe the project manager or whoever was involved in that meeting, hey, why you guys decided to go with this instead of this other one, right?
right,
So that's a problem with meetings, with the way we traditionally do meetings is
yeah,
we are never capturing those things.
yeah. And so I think the ideal ideal way we could do probably is like we have multiple documents. It's like this is going to be distributed broadly. This is our knowledge base. We'll update this. These are the safety parameters, probably, and we could do like multiple things like that with that.
Yeah, yeah, but now who's writing all those things, right?
So it's like increasing your work by tenfold if you want to like capture real essence of everything, right?
So I think that's the good segue to start talking about the technology, right? Uh,
Hmm.
AI and like I mentioned in the beginning, meeting meeting bots, tools for recording meetings and kind of writing what happened in those meetings have been around for probably 6 7 years.
Hmm.
I think one of the other good ones I can think of is Other. That one was good. Initially, they were just transcribing audio. That was their main thing. So it
Yeah.
wasn't even thought for meetings. It was just anything you could record with audio, it will
Yeah.
transcribe,
Hmm.
right? So it was more like a transcription service. There was nothing else because we didn't have the AI. So summarizing something wasn't super simple to do, right? So it
Hmm.
was it was just transcription of audio, but that
Yeah.
was that was a good first step, right? Because
Yeah.
now at least we had a record of everything that happened. So now
Yeah.
maybe someone, instead of having to be writing writing notes while during the meeting, they could just record
Yeah.
and transcribe at the end and use that transcription to write the things, right? But then end of 2022, ChatGPT comes out, this explosion of AIs, and now we can see super powerful meeting platforms
Yeah.
and Other expanded into something more interesting. There's a lot of platforms for recording meetings, right?
Yeah.
And if you're using the big three, Zoom, Teams, or Google for your meetings, they
Yeah.
already have a recording feature, right? So
Right.
there's already recording happening for those meetings, and then you get the transcript, you get summaries. So all that you can already do with these platforms, which is great because now it saves us a lot of time,
Yeah.
right? So those platforms are there, very helpful, easy, intuitive to use.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think when it comes to construction, they still haven't do it in the best way possible for construction. They're
Yeah.
a good alternative, definitely. It's better than having to do everything by hand,
Yeah.
but there's still certain nuances that these platforms haven't really touched when it comes to construction. And I
Yeah.
think it's not because they don't want to, it's just that they're building meeting tools for everyone, right? For
Right.
every industry. So they're not just thinking about the construction experience, they're just thinking about every experience. So the
Yeah.
main thing that they being able to do is the action items, right? So
Yeah.
now it's a summary plus a list of action items, which is great.
Yeah.
Now you have those two things, but a summary is not the same as meeting minutes,
Yeah.
right? That's what one of the first things when it comes to normal
Yeah.
recording to what's needed in construction, right?
Yeah.
They're giving you a summary, a really cool summary, but it's not a meeting minutes.
Yeah. And like my previous boss used to say, the devil is in the details, right? And that's nowhere it can be more true than the construction industry, right?
Yeah,
um, you can summarize each topic that you discussed in the meeting, and you can have different templates. So that's what these platforms do, is like they record your minutes, the video call that you are having with different people, and then transcribe that, and then provide you summary on different topics. And you can even set different topics, like if you want to talk about safety or those things, and then they'll summarize this your transcript against those things, and that's your minutes of the meeting. But the nuances that we have to understand is construction meetings are much much more and different than that, right? It's not just a task list, it's also how does that affect your schedule, right? If you're talking about RFIs, what the RFIs means, what are the submittal means, right? There's a lot of construction lingo that goes there, right? It's a small difference, but it can make the difference, right? um, then you're talking about the safety and how those percolate into different aspects of the project. We have to understand those kind of things, right? And then that summary, the meeting summary, is very much different than the legally binding document that all parties are bounded by, and then held, and they will be held responsible in case of future legal action or future discrepancy or disagreement. So how do you build that thing is where they differ.
Yeah, yeah. So I think using these tools is good. However, the workflow has to have a few more steps. So once you use Read AI or whatever of those, you get the transcript. Now you have to do it to go into maybe ChatGPT, or if you want to do something more complex, into something like Notebook LM, right? Because you mentioned schedules and all those things. So bring your transcript, put it in ChatGPT, and now ask it, hey, ChatGPT, based on this transcript, write construction specific meeting minutes,
Yeah,
right? And now it's going to do a better job because it's going to group into construction specific topics.
right.
It's probably going to include a safety section, a schedule section, whatever topics you're discussing. It will do that, right? So
Yeah,
now you have your meeting minutes, and now it's a matter of putting it back into a Word document, sending it to people, have them
yeah.
review, provide
Don't
comments.
don't don't forget logo and footer. That's really important.
Exactly. So hopefully you already have a template in Word with your logo and all those things.
Yeah,
Uh, you will have to type in maybe the attendees
yeah,
because it won't do a good job maybe with that, but it could also create a table for you. So you'll have your table of attendees, then your meeting minutes now paste into Word with your headers and footers, and now share with people to get comments, right?
yeah,
Because we want people to provide comments before we lock those documents because they're going to be legal documents.
yeah.
So ideally they would provide comments, and
And
then
the comment is multi-step process. It's like it's a whole life. It could be your whole life. You're taking comments from different people, and then you are like trying to reach to a consensus, and then you're providing like going back and forth few times before you like completely lock down, or like you carry forward some items in the next meeting for agreement.
yeah, and then you can also connect this some of these tools to project management tools like
Yeah,
ClickUp or Jira, Asana, right? Where automatically your action items get pushed to those tools.
yeah,
Now you have your task list
yeah.
there that now you have to follow up with people, but at least you have those things semi
Yeah.
automated.
Also, don't forget Procore. Like you need to put that minutes of the meeting in the Procore too. Like
Yeah,
somebody has to click on the forms and like copy paste those things into Procore too.
yeah, yeah. So again, yes, the AI will help with the writing part of the writing of it, but it won't fully do or the tools we have right now for meetings won't do the full construction workflow, right? Because they're
Yeah,
not built for construction meetings.
yeah,
So it's a good help. You should definitely use them, but you have to understand that there are more steps to be taken after just a recording.
yeah,
Uh, and I think sometimes people could easily be like, oh no, this is gonna be more job. I can just write the meeting minutes while in the meeting. We've been doing it for years, so I'll just keep doing that, which is fair. You can do that, right? If that's the best use of someone's time to be sitting in a meeting writing notes, perfect. But I think there's one other side to using this platform that it's people maybe are not really thinking about them, right? If we're just thinking about something to write meeting minutes, that's just covering 10% of the potential of using AI for meetings, right?
yeah,
And I believe the 90% is in the knowledge capture.
yeah,
Like we said, the problem with meetings is you have a lot of smart people sitting in a room. That's expensive. They're talking about ways to solve problems. They're bringing in their experience, and if we don't capture all that, then we're wasting an opportunity, right?
yeah,
So using these tools now, we're capturing all that.
yeah,
We can start building this knowledge repository of a project just by having a bot be part of the meetings,
yeah,
right? The team doesn't have to do anything else. Just let the bot in. The bot will start recording all these things. So now you're suddenly capturing all this information, right? And if you're having meetings like weekly, which probably you are different types of meeting every week, there's gonna be just by recording meetings, you will be able to track the project progress, right? Because in the meetings, people are talking about what happened last week.
Yeah.
the last period, what's happening in this period, and what has to happen next period, right? So
Right.
all that has been covered already in the meetings.
Yeah.
So we're building a schedule
Mm.
just from meetings, right? So
Yeah.
all the information has been captured, knowledge,
Yeah.
which companies have been performing, which ones have not been performing, uh,
Yeah.
things that have been stocked for weeks. We can track that way because now, hey, 3 weeks ago this was a problem. It's still a problem. Still a problem. Still a problem, right? So
Yeah.
all that has been captured, and
Yeah.
now we can use AI to digest all that and start doing pretty cool things for the project,
Yeah.
right? So starts with writing this. So what, from your perspective, what opportunities are open now if we just capture everything?
Yeah, I mean, when I was working in mining, we had like a small initiative called Kaizen, and it's like collecting like little good things that helps everybody in on the project, and like people were. So it took a lot of effort, even though it's a good initiative. Everybody was forced into it, doing it, and people hated it. Even it's good, some people took the opportunity, but it's big. It's a whole movement. Like the companies spend like lots of hours, money to get it done, and so like things like that could be like instantaneous, right? You could initial previously one person is taking minutes of the meeting for one kind of project aspect they are doing, like geotech, or like one is doing civil part, one is doing permit parts, and these people like rarely talk to each other or share their notes. But now these bots can share notes and elevate to a higher levels, right? So the kaizen can come from like the kaizen part, it can be automated, right? What are the learnings from every week? You can connect to a database, and every minutes that this bot joins, regardless of what kind of meeting, it can tell you like what are the good initiatives in the project that's going on, and you can build that database, right? What are the good safety practices, like different aspects, different part of the projects are following, and you can elevate those safety practices to the top of the project, and you can think number of such scenarios, right? What are the cost saving factors that John is deploying on his part of the project? Maybe it's applicable to Mike's part of the project, but these two guys are never going to talk, so the bots can elevate those things. And if you take that thinking one step further on the company level, now you can like take this niche initiative, the knowledge base that one project has, and you can compare it with another project, and you can transmit the learning back and forth without like spending a lot of money and consultants and like engineers come. Like this can happen like very synchronously in very organic way without like people busting their chops.
Yeah, yeah, because you could be saving all the transcripts from your meetings, right? From all the projects in the company, and then for today's meeting, once we're done with the meeting, we can have an AI look at the transcript, find the problems we've been discussing, and then have it look at all the meetings that have happened in other projects to see if they've encountered a similar problem and maybe how
Right.
they solve it, right?
Yeah.
Or if not, at least tell me in which project they found that they encountered something similar,
Right.
right? So now projects are not siloed, and maybe today only the construction director kind of has visibility into all the problems the projects are having, right? But the PMs on site don't really know those things,
Right.
right? So by doing that, they could easily see who else has gone through that. Oh, maybe
Yeah.
I'll just pick up the phone, call them, and see how they solve it, right?
Yeah.
If they have any advice. So that is not just saving someone's time writing meeting minutes, but it's potentially saving a project hours or days of solving a problem.
Yeah, it could, I mean, potentially if this solution is leveraged properly for bigger project, it's millions and millions dollar of saving. You are searching for a solution, um and sometimes like let's take example, you don't even know this is a problem, but other project has an RFI that solved that thing, or like they have a submittal or other way of doing that thing that saves money, or like save, it's more safer. You can like instantly know those things, and that's like millions and millions bucks of saving, like real money, right?
Yeah. So just again, the team didn't have to do anything just from allowing the bot in the meetings, right? But that opens the door to all these possible uh, improvements for the company
Yeah,
that before to be able to do those, it would take forever, right?
yeah,
Even pre-AI, when we were just doing transcripts, it would take forever because someone would have had to read the transcript to find
yeah,
what what's happening, right? But now all this is generated from the same meeting, right?
yeah,
So like you said before, what we need maybe is to generate 5 different documents from a meeting. Now it can be done automatically, right? So
yeah,
we can have just after a meeting something that writes the meeting minutes, perfect, but something that goes into detail for what was the consensus, what was the main discussion points,
yeah,
uh, maybe even like how this person thinks about these things, right?
yeah,
You could do that one becomes trickier, and that's one of the problems with the meeting or the recordings in general. If
yeah,
everyone is in a room, the AI won't know who said what, right? That's a problem that it's hard to solve. But at least you get the data.
yeah,
So it can do a better job. And now that combined with video, it makes it even more interesting, right? Because we've seen when we can have an AI analyze also the video and see what people are showing on screen,
right,
right? So now that's an extra layer of documentation that
yeah,
we can
yeah,
add to these documents.
yeah. And I think going back to the point, like when I was in mining and we had some problem with the support, and I think we hired BCG group to solve that problem, and we were flying BCG consultant, and all they were doing is just looking at the different projects that we had and trying to figure out where the solution lies. Other people have done. So this bot is your consultant, like free BCG consultant that can like talk to all the project documents and figure out like problems, right? And we were paying like hundreds of $1,000s for those like little sessions, but now it's like, some tools are free even. Right? Yeah. So this is a great tool, um, combined with the capabilities of data analytics, seeing visually analyzing what's shown on the screen, what are the people saying. And I think we haven't touched about like the human aspect of it, like coaching people. You're being too harsh, or the people are not perceiving what you're trying to see, so you could like maybe tone down a bit, or like you need to be more forceful, more impactful, like how to get the project your point across. So there's another aspect that AI can do, is like coach the individuals and like the leaders and executive into how to put their point across, because it's seeing everything.
Yeah, yeah, and I think one of the sectors or functional jobs, let's say, where this technology has made a big difference is in the sales industry, right?
Yes.
So all the sales people now record their meetings, and they use specific sales platforms that
Yeah.
coach them how to become better salespeople, right?
Yeah.
But even go a step further, like those platforms analyze the data and provide uh, possibility of this deal closing because
Yeah.
of the way people were talking, right?
Yeah.
Which keywords trigger better responses? Like all those things you can analyze from the same input that you are already capturing, right? So
Yeah.
it's so powerful, and I think people probably will realize that we're very passionate about meetings, but it's because I think it's it's great if we can leverage meetings, right?
Yeah.
It was one thing that we or people hated or probably they still hate, but now we can turn those painful moments
Yeah.
into high value things for the company.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. And every pre-construction team, they are just doing negotiation on negotiation on negotiation on negotiation with different people. Now your minutes of the meeting, instead of that painstaking process that you have to do between negotiation, is like a learning opportunity. It's just making you a better negotiator, or finding out how to crack other people, or like how to like get a better deal out of it. And every time you do, you can combine the data across the project, how other people did it, and it becomes much fun experience.
Yeah, yeah, and
Policy.
it, just a completely different thing to what we were talking, right? So you said pre-construction. You're having a call or a meeting with one of the companies that put a bid, right? You're asking for more details and things like that. After the meeting, you have the transcript. You can ask an AI to take that transcript and update your bid modeling document,
Mm,
right? Now you didn't have to manually do it.
yeah,
It's the AI will take the data and update your document, right?
yeah,
So it's not just for the core operations team,
yeah,
but it's something that could be used for many different projects. And the other use case that I've heard people say is the handoff between pre-construction and construction, right?
mm,
That's a process that takes time because
mm,
the pre-construction team has to document everything, so then the construction teams can hit the ground running, right?
mm,
But for them to prepare everything, that takes time. And
right,
then that meeting where one team is asking questions to the other team and all that, that's also a time consuming meeting, right?
right,
If pre-construction is already recording everything, documenting everything, then the handoff becomes easier because now all the documents are done by the AI.
yeah,
We could, or the project team could ask questions to the AI that already knows a lot of things about the project instead of asking to the pre-construction guys, right?
yeah,
Because probably the pre-construction guys are already moving to the next project,
yeah,
and you need them to be back and forth and all that. So now you can use the AI as that buffer for certain things. And then when the AI can't handle that, perfect. Now go and ping the pre-construction team, but it could handle a lot of that handoff
yeah,
process. And the same thing could happen after the project. Then you hand it off to the owner or whoever is going to take care of the project once it's done, right? So now how do you give them all the information that they need to operate after,
yeah, yeah,
right? Again,
yeah.
someone probably has to sit down and compile everything and
Yeah.
do
You
certain.
need, so there's like usually a line in the specs. So you need to maintain Procore access for us 5 years after the completion of the project, so we can see all the document. So the company now needs to pay 5 years, but that's beside the point because you're never gonna find in Procore
Yeah,
what was
exactly.
discussed.
They're gonna try to go in, and then they're gonna get lost what they're looking for, right?
Yeah,
And so they're gonna call you to see if you remember something.
yeah.
So yeah. So then, and just to close here, what will be your take on what we talked today?
I think minutes of the meaning is something like most people don't enjoy, and I think the tools are at a good position right now that we can start leveraging as construction companies. And I think the off the shelves are too tools are good, but there are probably specialized tools that people should look specifically for construction that can do construction meaning, and that not just do a meaning summary, but that handle the whole process of getting to consensus, making the documents into a binding document, and then a spin off other processes that can do other kind of workflows, like from bid meaning to updating your bid documents, or like updating lesson learns in the project, or like the quality checks and those kind of processes, if it can do automatically. And then we know the technology at that level that it can do most of these things, so it could be a very high gain for the companies, and they just shouldn't think this tool as a tool for like making their life easier, but this is probably the biggest money saving tool that they can get their hands on.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Start using them. I think the return on investment pays itself if, or it's really quick if you start using the data from those meetings, right? If
Yeah,
you're just using it for the summaries, well, yeah, probably saving someone time, and that could repay you for the tool. But if you start using the data, then it will definitely provide a lot more value. And then I guess the only thing we didn't touch on, and probably we can close with that, is concerns, right? Uh, I've heard people saying, "Oh no, I don't want to be recorded," or people will change their behaviors once they know they've been recorded. Yes, that's possible. That's going to happen maybe the first time.
Yeah,
I think now people are getting more used to having AIs in meetings, so that's a little bit different. But still, the whole recording is still something that we need to notify people. Hey, this is being recorded, right? So they can think about what they're going to say. But I think if we share the raw data with everyone, then everyone benefits for it, right?
yeah,
Uh, so I think when someone has those concerns, probably it's because they perceive that they're not gonna receive what they what they need from
yeah,
recorded, right? But if we share the data with them, then they will also be able to do something with that data. So it's a
yeah.
win-win for everyone, I think.
Yeah, there's few kind of architectures that people can generally adopt. Maybe they record the meeting, but they delete the meetings and keep the documents for everybody to see all the different documents they created from the meeting. And maybe they share everything. Everybody's happy with it. The anecdotal evidence I'm seeing is like construction companies nowadays, like people don't care about that part that much. Some traditional companies still have something, and then some projects might have some requirements, but more and more people are being open to this kind of meeting documentation system, and I think it's just a matter of time. I
Yeah. And I think the last thing is that this is not just for meetings happening inside an office, right? We could do something very similar when we're having
On site.
meetings outside, right? Maybe we won't have the Zoom bot join the meeting, right? Because it's hard one, but we could always use our phone's recorder to record the audio and
Yeah,
then go back. And most of those tools, the meeting tools, have a way to upload
yeah.
uh, offline meetings, right?
Last year, I went to ENR conference, ENR Tech conference, and one of the case studies they presented was one of the company. I forgot their name. It starts with H or something, but they recorded all their toolbox talk, and they were quickly able to realize like people were feeling pain in their left shoulder or right shoulder, and like and then they were able to pinpoint a lot of injuries that were happening based on like what how people were talking in the toolbox talk, and then they got like great results like safeguarding people, and their I think their safety whatever metric that they were presenting, they went up like 100 times or something, like or 100%, sorry, not 100 times, but yeah, man, it's like not just your office conference video call meetings, but like anything you can get your
Yeah.
hands on.
Yeah, that's a great example of maybe people were hesitant in the beginning to be recorded in those meetings, right? But once they perceive the value, because
Yeah,
there are less safety risks and all those things, then they start seeing, okay, this is benefiting me, not just someone inside the office in the company.
yeah, and people, I think people will be more adaptable. Like if somebody might be hesitant in saying my shoulder is paining and I don't want to do heavy lifting today, if they know like this is not like my immediate person who is gonna see this is like it's this is like helping company, or the company is going to make a decision about like how I do my work, then they can like raise their concern in those meetings too, right? It's like, my shoulder is working. I don't want to do heavy lifting today. Maybe I'll do something else. Please assign me to that thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, we had a really long conversation today, but it's yeah, a really interesting, important topic. Uh,
Yeah.
Anyone listening should definitely go and start using one of those AI meeting tools. We have one at Flowlly. If you want, we can help you with that. But if not, just start using something to document your meetings, but use that data for more than just writing a meeting minute.
Yeah. Yeah. Understand. Like this could be the biggest superpower
Yeah,
unlock for you.
yeah. All right. Nice seeing you, man. I'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye bye. Have fun.
Bye.